For a Cuban exile, the idea that Cuba is less than 90 miles away from the U.S. is a frustrating one. In one sense, you feel you're so close to your homeland to help the people, your people, and you can't seem to. Havana, the buildings are dilapidated, they're falling down. There isn't much work. You're talking about an infrastructure right now and an economy that can't sustain itself. It's in the Stone Ages. One of the commonalities between these two countries is baseball. In Cuba, you better be passionate, you better be respectful, you better be understanding as to what the potential is and what you're going after. Because the ultimate goal for a young Cuban kid is the major leagues. You have this jewel 90 miles away, it's Cuba. It's baseball's final frontier. I was born in Cuba, in Santiago, in '62, and came over in '68. I've never been back. There's this hunger for me to really just go to where I'm from, go and touch and feel and see where my life came from, where my parents were born. New Year's Day, 1959, the revolution, as it's known, took over. The maña is, the trick that was Castro's taking over and proposing this ideology of democracy, and it wasn't to be. After '59, he partners with Russia and then explains that he is going to be a communist state. There's always been an ongoing feeling that the Castro regime, the embodiment of the revolution, you're talking about an ideology that the Cuban exiles over here don't trust.
Let me tell you one thing, I will never do anything for the government. And I love my country and I'm very proud to be a Cuban. But I'm very proud to be an American too, because this is the greatest country in the world.
What is the feeling for what's going on with the potential that there are some bridges to lead to the eventual big light at the end of the tunnel?
There's no way it's going to be a bridge as long as no freedom. The way they treated all those people down there, go back to Cuba under their rules, no.
So many things are going on right now, the climate politically with trying to see if the door's open. I mean, I try to even take myself aside from suffering through your country being closed down from you. It's hard not to say what you see. Players are trying to leave. You're talking, that there must be something dramatic going on that they want to escape. It's not just all about making money. Here I am, deeply involved in broadcasting, Major League Baseball games. I felt that, I got to go. But I'm at the beck and call of the Cuban consulate and the Cuban government agreeing on a special visa. They can give me a call and say that it could be delayed, and I would have to wait and see when, or it could be denied. It's a little bit unnerving. You hear so many stories, and finally there's a chance to maybe see it.
In Cuba, baseball is it. There is no hockey and basketball and, American-style NFL football. It's baseball, and it always has been.
It's kind of almost in the blood of the Caribbean, and especially the Cubans. There's that tie that I have, and going back is pretty dramatic.
There's a level of passion and respect to the game of baseball in Cuba.
Ciego no clasificado, ¿quién fue el campeón? Pero dime, comparación no, te estoy hablando de la realidad de la vida. El equipo más completo hoy por hoy que tiene la pelota con el ciego de Ávila.
Que sea más completo.
El más completo en todos los aspectos.
In Cuba, their passion for the game is so intense that they want to pass it on to the younger generation. Baseball is preeminent. Along with learning how to read and write is learning how to throw and catch and hit.
We are in the Sports Center Emilio Núñez, right in the heart of all Havana. This is also an elementary school that serves as a Cuban government-sponsored sports school.
The shaping of our men is the most important thing. And then, if they become athletes, that's even better. So we plan and take deliberate steps so that our men get a good education and don't fall through the cracks with no way out.
I have personally trained several baseball players that are now in the major leagues. Yasmani Tomas, Alexander Guerrero, Brian Peña. All of them were my students and came out of the sports facility that you see here.
Camino un poquitico para atrás. Ahora suelto la bola y hago mecánica y la suelto, y la suelto.
Baseball is a tough sport. It's different from other sports. If I'm not yelling on the field, I'm not doing my job. In the United States, there are private training facilities where you have to pay to train. In Cuba, the state pays for the training.
From the time they're 5 years old, they go through a high-performance training process, including special schools, until they are 23. All baseball players go through this together. They all share the same duties and responsibilities.
The first catcher that you saw working with me, the one with the orange jersey and the black pants, is the best player I have right now. His name is Kevin Céspedes.
We parents here in Cuba, we can't provide all the resources to make our kids the best. As a parent, you make the sacrifices so your child can play and be the best they can be.
The parents are thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool if you know, my little guy could possibly one day, you know, play in the major leagues.
In order to make it to the big leagues, you have to be the best. If he can get there, he will be able to come and go from Cuba as he pleases.
Baseball is the best thing for these kids. This is a country that wakes up with the ball and goes to sleep with the ball. In this age group, Malcolm Nunez is the most talented athlete in the country. So it's no secret to anybody that he is a talent, a great talent for the national team.
The ultimate goal for decades was to eventually represent his area and to be that good of a player to be playing in the Serie Nacional and or to be able to represent your country.
Well, I'd like to play for the national team. Like we say, Team Cuba.
Yulieski Gurriel, he has been a staunch pro-revolution, pro-nationalism kind of a guy.
Yulieski Gurriel is and has been the best Cuban player probably for a decade. He is the picture boy of Cuban baseball.
But he's also been very open that one day he would love to play in the major leagues and would love that challenge.
And they've been promising him that he doesn't have to defect. He doesn't have to leave anybody behind. He'll be the first one who signs legally with a U.S. team right out of Cuba. And I think he's been hearing that for a while.
The best thing that could happen right now is for Cuban players to leave their airport peacefully, hired by the Federation, and play in the major leagues. Why not? It would be spectacular for both countries. That could contribute and accelerate the improvement of the relationship between both countries.
But it hasn't happened. And I don't think it's going to happen for a while either.
I woke up this morning and realized that, you know, the process was beginning for something that, honestly, you know, I knew one day would come, and it was visiting back to my homeland. But at this point, it's still on the Cuban consulate and the Cuban government's decision. I'm at the beck and call of them agreeing on a special visa. It's part, obviously, personal, part, you know, political, and obviously a big part pelota, you know, baseball.
Some late-inning drama here in Pool C game number 2, Cuba's first game.
And in 2006, I was fortunate enough to be called upon to cover the first edition of the World Baseball Classic. Cuba was playing, and again, this was pretty big deal.
Julius Gabriel, 21 years of age, stands in with an 0-1 count. Pitch stretched by Acosta, and the pitch swung and high in the air into the deep left field. That one is way back, and it's gone. And Julius Gabriel has given Cuba a 6-4 lead in the 9th.
This kid, Gurriel, is the full package. Before the game, we were on the stands there, and we saw a bunch of scouts that are out here. That is the one main kid that I'd say that they'd be checking out and salivating over. But again, these are the Cuban national team, and they're not easy to come by unless they defect.
I remember when I did the games in Puerto Rico that I got some backlash from that.
The defections will happen, if not here, some other time. And even some of these players that might even, there have been players that have even said, I'm not going to, you know, ever defect. I'm never going to defect. But when the opportunity presents itself, the reality is that they're the only team in these 16 countries that are in a unilateral, you know, control by a dictator. So that's just this reality of what we're looking at here.
It's hard not to say what you see. Players are trying to leave.
My name is Frank Camilo Morejon. I am 29 years old. I play for the Industriales from Cuba's capital.
You know, monetarily trying to give yourself a better life. If you can imagine making millions compared to making hundreds, that's what they deal with.
I was brought up by Cuban military parents. They wanted me to continue my family's military career path. But I had a neighbor that always talked baseball with me. One day he took me to an athletic field, and that's where I started taking my first steps towards becoming a player.
So many of the Cuban greats on the national team have left. Cespedes, Abreu, Chapman, Tomas, they're all gone.
Yasmani Tomas and I grew up together. Yasmani is also from the capital. We played on the same team together. And what more than to wish a Cuban, a brother, and a friend the best in the world, to continue to represent Cuba by being a high-quality ball player.
Yasmani Tomas batea por Industriales. Le tira, saca fly, largo por el izquierdo, va atrás, se le fue la bola. Y cuadrangular de Yasmani Tomás. Este para poner delante a Industriales en el juego.
During the end of 2014, I decided to leave Cuba.
No, difícil sí fue, ¿no?
It was hard. It was a very tough experience.
Bastante dura.
My family didn't know anything. They found out when I told them an hour before leaving the house. We just got to the coast and left at once. That day I was on the boat for 16 hours. You could say it was the longest 16 hours of my life. We could be alive, we could be dead. Nobody knows what's gonna happen when you're on the sea. But thank God we're alive. First I went to Haiti, and then I went to the Dominican Republic. That's where I started training and doing the presentations for the Major League Baseball teams. Leaving my family, leaving my friends, leaving my other daughter that I have in Cuba.
Pienso que esas fueron las cosas.
Those were the hardest things.
I was at home like any other day, and Yasmani called me. I just put down the cell phone, and at that moment, I realized the gravity of what happened. Is everything okay, son? Are you okay? And he told me he was, and that's it. It was very painful. I don't know, because he could have lost his life. He decided to leave because that's what he wanted for his life. But right now, I wish he was here. This is what he wanted, and I think everyone wants to succeed in life and achieve their true potential. It's not easy. My life has been shattered, but you have to go on living. I don't want my son to know that I'm crying.
Some people do it because of politics, others do it because of money. But the majority do it because of a desire to test themselves at the highest level. But they have to do something that is degrading for a human being. They have to stop being Cuban citizens. They have to lose their nationality and denounce their state. They lose their relationship with the Federation and can't send money to our country. And that's not right. That's why we have opened up to the world and allow our players to be hired anywhere. We don't want our players to be treated like merchandise. We want them to be men that represent our country, who do it with dignity and get paid to do it.
Well, Eugenio Vélez is probably the biggest hypocrite other than the Castros in Cuba. And I know that because I've dealt with him, and I've known him for many years. I know who he is and what he is. So anything that comes out of that man's mouth, to me, is lies. They keep saying we're open. Yeah, they're open because they want to get something back. They're using baseball as a tool to lift the embargo. To me, it's obvious. I think the players are pawns in this whole issue.
What do we need? For the embargo to be lifted. What do we need? For our players to be free to play anywhere in the world. And through their hard work and the money that they earned, they can improve their own life. And they can contribute to the development of our sport, so we can all benefit.
Regarding the Gurriel brothers, who we learned defected from Cuba last week, according to your story, they're training in secret someplace.
Uleski defecting is massive. This is the premier poster child for the Cuban national team, and he just defected.
It's the biggest defection ever. When you lose the number one guy, I think it's huge. You know, maybe this will open up the eyes of Cuban baseball. They got to give in a little more to Major League Baseball. I would not deal with the Cuban government on any level until they start making some changes. I'm not talking about baseball, just in the political sense. Human rights, two-party system. Change that, and we'll talk about everything else later.
I've never tried to go to Cuba until now. And now I'm, at the precipice of it, and I'm pulling my hair out.
Con esa gira, coño, yo porque dije 2 o 3 palabritas en un reportaje, no sé si eso lo que hay es slow everything down.
I didn't really think about that, honestly. Basically, they're nixing it right now, so it's very, very disheartening to hear. The actual Cuban born in the party is the one that has the bigger trouble getting in, you know, ironically. So I don't know what to think or what to say.
With President Barack Obama being the first sitting president in 88 years to actually visit Cuba, I feel that Washington, the president, obviously MLB, are taking historic steps in what I hope will be true sit-down talks for change. I have immense sympathy for the Cuban ball players. All they want is an opportunity to play wherever they want to play without having to leave everything behind.
My biggest hope is for the two countries to come to an agreement. I think that will be just as important for Major League Baseball as for Cuba, and essential for us ball players who are forced to make difficult decisions.
What we need is to stop being oppressed, for the embargo to be lifted, for our players to be able to play freely anywhere in the world. We don't want any special treatment. We just want our players to have the same opportunities as all the players in the world.
I believe you can use baseball as an open door to something else, but make that something else the bigger issue. Don't make a deal on the baseball end of it until you've solved everything else.
When I'm watching this game, I couldn't help but think that there'll be one or more that are thinking, I'd like that opportunity. I would want to be the next defector. I would want that chance to play in the major leagues. So while the politics, in essence, remain the same in Cuba, MLB is trying to make an effort, yet in the end, very much so, it's still baseball's final frontier.